Yeah.
That is Ernie Winfrey. One of the things, and I first met Ernie Winfrey a few years ago researching Lee Hazen. And Ernie was kind enough to come in and do some interviews with me about Lee Hazen and about Glenn Snoddy, about working with him back in Woodland. And so as I went back through and kind of looked through some of the things, looked at what Ernie did, I began to look through, and the work that he did really helped define the sound of country radio back through the 70s and well into the 80s. A lot of the things that he was working on at Sound Shop were just, he sends me the discography, and I was starting to look stuff up, and that's a number one, that's a number one, that's a number one. But definitely, and a wide variety of sound, things from Joe Tex to Paul McCartney to Razzie Bailey. And again, it's that scope of work, that person who's able to take what the producer and the artist want to get out of it and put that into the recorder and make it come out of the speakers the way they want to hear it, and be able to, after a while, be able to start to predict what they want to do, and that helps those things go along better. One of the other things, and I hadn't realized this, but 22 years at the same facility at Sound Shop?
Yeah, between there and Woodland.
Yeah.
A couple of years at Woodland.
Yeah. A couple of years at Woodland, but 1970 to 92 at one facility, which I hadn't heard of anybody. I haven't heard of that.
They couldn't get me out.
But he was born, it seems like this is the year of a lot of people born in 1942 today that we're talking about. Born in 42, began playing flute and drums, percussion in high school bands, and played drums in various combos, and apparently one of which played down in the First Bradley studio.
Yeah.
And it was a Jeff Gordon and the Summits, and it recorded a version of the Peter Gunn theme.
Yeah.
Down there. And in 1969 started at Woodland Sound, and as I mentioned before, Lee Hazen really was a mentor in his life, along with Glenn Snoddy and Jim Pugh, all of whom we've talked about in this same setting. And it was at Woodland Sound that he was working on records with the first Charlie Daniels record, and the Charlie Daniels Band, Wilson Pickett, Freddie North, among others. And in 1970, he was hired to go to Sound Shop. Who was it? Buddy Killen hired you?
Buddy Killen, Bobby Dillsborough, Bob Montgomery, and Kelsar Hurston. And then at that time, began working on things such as Joe Tex, Bobby Goldsboro in 1973. And then in 1974, Paul McCartney showed up, and wasn't necessarily didn't start out as a booking, a straight up studio booking, but they were rehearsing for a U.S. tour, and they had come to remind me of that guy's name, Curly Putnam's farm, to sort of get away from it all, have a place to rehearse. And Buddy Killen said, well, while you're in town, if you need a place to record, I've got the place and I've got the person. And some of the things there, Sally G, Junior's Farm, Bridge Over the River, Sweet Hay Diddle, White Prairie. And I think White Prairie ended up being the title track on Linda's solo record. Wide Prairie was the release was the title of Linda McCartney when it was released.
And Send Me the Heart, Walking with Eloise. Tanya Tucker started out with her, and then in 1978, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas with Dolly, and who were some of the other?
That was cut.
I tell you what, why don't you step forward?
Hi, y'all. Thanks.
But,
Well, I was going to say that the best little whorehouse in Texas we recorded at the castle, which you were talking about earlier. It was real nice. She used to bring us, this is the type of person Dolly is, she would bring us home-cooked meals out there. Literally, and bring us pots and things, and we'd warm it up in the microwave and stuff and eat it. She's the finest lady you would ever want to meet.
and I'd come across something, and you worked some with Neil Young on Comes a Time?
Well, yeah, one song that I can't remember the title of. It was one on that Comes a Time album, yeah.
How was it working with Paul McCartney?
Paul McCartney was wonderful. He's just a gentleman, and Linda was a super person too. They were, you know, a lot of people, they look at people like that as gods or you know, just above everything else. And all of those people are just super nice, down to earth. Paul's favorite thing, he said, when we get through here, I'm going back to my farm in Scotland. They had a one room dwelling there, the dirt floor. And that was their favorite place to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ernie provided me with a clip that I want to show you, and I edited it down so because it shows the part that that you're in it. And tell us a little bit about the there was a kid that filmed it.
Gillum, I think they called him. He was a young man that had some disabilities, and he used to be on WSM all the time, television. They kind of adopted him up there. But anyway, Paul allowed him to come in the studio. He had a Super 8 sound camera. And this is the only video that was taken of them in the studio.
And it will only be one channel. You'll only get the left.
Yeah, unfortunately. He got in touch with me a few years after this, and he said, I've got something that I think you'd like to have. He gave me a copy of that. And I think he passed away not long after that. Real nice kid.
This tape? You might find bits of that on YouTube floating around.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I put it up. Somebody told me I was crazy, but I don't have the copyright on it anyway, so I figured it'd be something that people would like to, might like to see.
But definitely hunt that up. When you were at Sound Shop during this period, are you doing tracking, overdub, and mixing, or is there one thing that you specialize in more than others? Just whatever.
Everything.
Whatever was on the schedule that day?
Yeah, I generally with Razzie and T.T. Shepherd, and Janie Fricke and them. Janie Fricke, Bob Montgomery was producing her and Razzie Bailey. At that period of time, I was doing all of Bob Montgomery's work. So we would sometimes come in at 10 o'clock and not leave until after midnight, you know. But yeah, I tracked and overdubbed, mixed, did all of it.
That was 10 o'clock in the morning.
And didn't one of the members